Hi, this is Daniel Plowright from Enquir. I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking through client retention and acquisition. And I guess the key question here is how much of your time and effort is spent developing existing client relationships versus chasing after brand new business. It's worth bearing in mind that the average business loses around 20% of their clients each year. Now, that could vary quite significantly across industries. 5 to 25% are figures that we typically see. The key issue for those businesses, they don't know who those clients are, and therefore it could be their most profitable, it could be those that are the biggest pain and they actually do want to lose them. But I think the thing here is that you've got to really understand your client base, what their kind of perceptions of you as an organization are, and how secure their kind of long-term revenue is to you as an organization. Clients leave, typically most businesses will cite price as one of the primary reasons, but the reality is that around about 80% of this is controllable because it's the perception of indifference on behalf of the supplier, perception that you don't care. And the other kind of big chunk here is really around some unforeseen service issue that's not been resolved. Price only accounts for around about 9%. So often businesses delude themselves that they've lost clients because it was a straight price discussion, where in reality there is probably something they could have done about it. Other things to consider is, why are your customers potentially not buying more of your stuff? And there's various reasons from the interview work that we do that start to come through. And really, it's around levels of communication, but the key one, and certainly very important at the moment, is just about managing expectations. If you said you were going to do something on a particular time slot, and you're not, for whatever reason, able to do it, then manage those expectations. And I think most people are realistic. And that's really where we see that kind of level of communication breaking down. Other thing here is businesses may track their customer feedback, but often there's some underlying stuff that's going on using kind of the old iceberg analogy. For every complaint that comes through, on average, there's 20, 25 complaints that don't get registered. So you may feel that you haven't got that many issues within the business, but it's worth just checking that data and see if you feel that that's robust or not. Another factor consideration really is the cost of acquisition. You've got a client in your hand, they're worth some money, potentially they could buy more product from you, but ultimately, what is the cost of acquiring and attracting a new customer? And you hear figures of 5, 6, 7 times as much. You've then got this consideration, which we talked about in other videos, around your silent majority. Those that are extremely disengaged and those that are delighted. Who are they? Who are they across your client base? Are they likely to leave? Have you asked them? How do you do your annual surveys, etc.? And I think the key thing here is that many businesses will ask for feedback from their client base, but ultimately they don't do anything with it. Only 5%, that's 1 in 20 businesses on average, typically would go back and say, thanks very much for the feedback that you gave us. This is what we're going to do about it. Only half of businesses actually do anything with it internally. Why don't businesses ask? We do work where we'll find that we'll talk to clients on the business's behalf, and we'll find out that the vast majority of them would actually say, we'll make a recommendation, we'll make a referral. When we go back to that organization, the vast majority of those don't have a plan in place to actively ask for those referrals to come through. And that really is a significant opportunity in most businesses. You've got to start to think about how this is going to affect your own business forecast, your revenue projections for the year. And if you start to look at, here's a typical average business with a bit of seasonality in there. They may have a core underlying level of performance that gives them kind of their underlying revenue trend. So let's say that they've got a baseline here and there's a gap that they've got to fill through various levels of marketing activity, client development, etc. If you look at that on a cumulative basis, they've got a gap. Let's say that gap's around about 80,000, this particular example. So if we start to model that out, you can say, look, okay, we've got to bring certainty to what we're doing. We've got a baseline figure here for the year of about 120. We're going to lose some just because we are. Clients do leave for reasons that are unknown to some businesses in many cases. We've also, unfortunately, got the issue of COVID at the moment, so that's going to have an impact as well. You're then going to start to look about how you grow that number back up again. So you've got your client retention strategy, you've got your upsell and cross-sell opportunities, which we talked through in other videos. You've got your frequency and transaction levels, which can have quite a dramatic effect. We've got this key one here of referrals, which many businesses just do not latch on to. And then at the end of all of that, if we've still got a gap, this is where your kind of new client acquisition, your kind of pure lead gen would kick in. So I think the key thing here is that if you start to look at your customer relationships, you've got those that you've done business with in the past, and potentially you could look to reactivate those. You've got those that you've kind of got in the hand of current clients, and there's a whole bunch of opportunities there around cross-sell, upsell, increasing the frequency, increasing the transaction value, looking at their lifetime value in overall terms. You've got the referred businesses that you're kind of connected indirectly to. They're more likely to purchase, they're more loyal, and they're going to spend more money. And then at the other end of the scale, we've got those unknown, the people that were out there on pure lead gen, trying to attract as new clients. And I guess the fundamental question is kind of where should you focus your time and effort across that spread? And that's really going to be down to an individual business and how they want to operate. So what you've got to consider here is that ultimately, 20% of customers are lost by the average business each year. 95% of businesses fail to engage with any of their customers who provide feedback, and it is a lot more expensive and costly, time-wise or pure physical cost, to attract a new client into your business. So the suggested actions out of this one are, kind of look at your revenue, take a risk analysis on that and say, how secure is that revenue? Consider running a customer gap analysis, review where your marketing effort is and what kind of return on investment you're getting from that, and ultimately review your client engagement process, because underlying there's probably a good chunk of revenue sat there that you can probably access. So what I would say is just take a moment to kind of reflect on what we've covered off here. If you need any support from us, then we're available. Thank you very much.